On today's episode of Titus and Tate, college basketball is back, Tate. That's the only way we can say it. Like, it's been back. We know that. The season's been going on. We've been following it all year. But college basketball to the rest of the world is very much back. This is the first day in 2 years. 2 years, Tate.
Yes.
That I sat my ass on the couch all day. I couldn't even keep up with all the games. I'm just flipping around. It felt so good.
If you're an ACC tournament basketball fan, you know right now, will the TVs out? You know what I mean? This is the time. We have the TVs coming into the classroom. It's Friday. We're waiting to watch the games. Nobody cares about school anymore. We care about basketball. It's that time of the year. It's college basketball
You're crossing
season.
your fingers. Your teacher's not the loser that's going to put like some magic school bus VHS in when you're like, just play the damn
Play the
games.
Georgia Tech game.
Watch the Georgia Tech game. What are we doing? What happened today? I don't know.
So much.
Indiana. Woof. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about Duke. That's kind of the big story. That's the thing that kicked us off today. Everyone got excited about this is the 1 year anniversary of sports shutting down. So a lot of people had their pieces ready. They had their tweets ready. They're firing them off in the morning. Like, remember how everything sucked a year ago? Thank God it doesn't suck now. And then they cursed it. And immediately Duke was like, we
opt out.
We opt out. We have to pull out of this.
We wanted to play and beat Florida State. We wanted to win the ACC tournament. We wanted to play in March, but we're going to have to opt out.
I can't even. I don't even. I'm trying to think of like what else to tease. There's so much going on.
I mean, Virginia hit her buzzer beater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a million different things.
We have Pac-12 updates coming up.
Yes.
We're talking to Andy Katz. It's an absolutely loaded
Patrick
show.
Ewing is back.
Patrick
folks.
Ewing is back in a big
Yes.
way. I'm just so excited, man. I don't know how else to say it. It's like you know it's coming. You know that you can sit on the couch all day. You look at the schedule, you're like, wow, that's going to be a lot of games, and you just kind of. I forgot what it felt like. That's what I'm gonna say. I just forgot what it felt like. I forgot that a game ended, and then you just, oh my God, there's 3 other games on right now that I could watch. There's so many close games. Kentucky's done.
Wow, over.
We didn't even talk about that. Like the Kentucky run we were hoping for.
Arizona done. A lot of blue bloods not playing in March.
Unbelievable. We're gonna try our best to recap the start of conference tournaments. All right, before we get started, Tate, some personal news in my life. I have an announcement, a very important announcement that I'd like to share with you. You don't know what I'm about to say. The friends of the program certainly don't know what I'm about to say, but this is breaking news in my life, and I feel like people need to know. I have officially talked myself into Brad Stevens.u. I have memed myself.
Yes.
The bit has
yes.
the
line. Yes.
The bit has become the reality. It has happened. I have morphed into, like, I can't even distinguish what's real and what's fake anymore. I got people telling me there's no way in hell. There's no way. There's no way. The guy's the head coach of the Boston Celtics. Why would he want to? There's no way. And I just want to point out to these people, you are the exact same people that earlier this morning were firing off the tweets about, like, remember a year ago when a damn pandemic ended the whole NCAA tournament? Like, so you're telling me that we were coming off a season where a guy at Dayton was the best player in the country. The coach at Dayton was the best coach in the country.
Yep.
A pandemic canceled the season. All this stuff, you're like, there's no way this would ever happen. It just happened, and now you're going to turn around a year later and say that couldn't happen? No, I don't believe it. So that's where I'm at. I've arrived there.
We said in 2008, Kevin Garnett screamed into the sky, anything is possible, and he ripped a hole in the dimension, in the quantum field, and it has opened up just an array of anything, and anything is everything. And like you said, Brad Stevens, he said to reporters he loves basketball, and it's because of March Madness. Unprompted. Who says that?
Who says it? They asked him, Brad, what'd you have for lunch? And he's like, I love March. I think that's what I'm going. Again, because I blurred the lines of reality in the bit. I don't know anymore.
And you're asking yourself, you're at home, you're saying, well, Titus, how can you convince yourself it's time for Brad Stevens when they have a coach? Archie Miller is the coach of Indiana.
Yeah, we don't want Archie to be fired, to be clear. We do not call for jobs on this program. We just say we want Brad. The Indiana fans, we should say, disagree.
Yes.
And they've made their voices heard. And I just want to say, if this is in fact the end of the Archie Miller tenure, I'm not going to cry for the guy, but at the same time, like, you go through an entire season where you're not playing in front of any fans whatsoever, and then the one time the fans show up at the game, they chant fire Archie as you're walking off the court because your team can't score for the last 7 minutes or whatever it was.
I mean, and the irony of it all, right?
In Indianapolis?
You're Indiana. They're going to crown a national champion in the building that you're in today. You're in, Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah.
You're sitting there. You're watching your team, and you're not going to be in March Madness. You're going to watch another team win a championship in your city, in your state, in your place. And you just said it. They can't make a shot. After the game, Archie Miller is like, well, you got to take the shots, and, it's just basketball. Sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't. Archie Miller was a great shooter, right? Mm-hmm. You remember this. Archie Miller was a great shooter. Well, his Dayton teams were always good offensive teams, good shooting teams. His Indiana teams, it looks as if they don't play with the basketball in practice, and they come out to the games, and they're like, well, we hope it works out.
I don't understand what happened.
I've never seen anything like it.
I saw in the run-up to the Big Ten tournament, I saw reports that Archie Miller, this is true, by the way, I saw a quote that said Archie Miller said that the team was practicing shooting going in. They were practicing. So I don't understand what went wrong.
Here's your Big Ten stat of the day. The Indiana Hoosiers under the Miller time era, have never shot or finished better than 204th in three-point field goal percentage in the country.
So bad, dude.
What?
For a state
what?
For a state known for shooting.
For shooting.
That's the only thing we do.
Fundamental shooting.
Literally all I could do on a basketball. The only thing I'm confident in my abilities is shooting a basketball. I can't do anything else. I can't dribble. I have to look down when I'm Stanley in the office when I'm dribbling.
Yes.
I can't pass. I can't play defense, for God's sakes. But I can shoot because I'm from Indiana, and that's how it's supposed to work. It's just in my blood. But apparently, Archie Miller recruited the 13 guys in the state that.
But they can shoot before they come. I
Yeah,
don't
they
know
really
what,
can. I know.
It makes no sense. It really doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
So we're gonna kick off the show because there's a ton that happened, but this is the excitement of this time of year is that by the time most of you are listening to this, a lot of this stuff's going to be outdated. So we want to talk about like the stuff like Archie Miller, for example, which Indiana fans are now like, yeah, this is not outdated. Tomorrow's going to come, and Indiana fans are going to be like, yeah, still not exactly happy with how the program's working. So we wanted to talk about that for that reason, but also because we started this voicemail line, this hotline. We want people to call in when they're frustrated.
Yes, when you hit the panic button,
and
please call.
We've been asking for calls. All for the last however many weeks, 3 weeks. Here's the number: 302-470-8283. Call us when your team chokes. Call us when things go wrong. Call us when you need a therapy session. And we've been having fun with these on the show. And my God, the voicemails we got tonight, we got literally.
Thank you, Indiana.
Literally over 70 voicemails tonight. Just tonight. Just tonight from,
yes.
And we've gotten Indiana voicemails all season.
69 of them are from Coach Titus.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to turn it over to I'm going to let the Indiana fans.
To the people. You're begging right
people.
now. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Give it to you.
It's your floor. Go ahead.
Born and raised in Indiana. And for the last 20 years, I've thought Indiana was back about 3 or 4 different times. Fast forward, they're not back.
What in the actual was that?
4 years. 4 years of this trash.
I want to call angry like I've done before. All I call now is in despair.
I've had upper and lower jaw surgery, and I would rather go through that again than another season like this of Indiana basketball.
I know Titus Tate likes to joke that, Coach K is obviously the Antichrist, but I do believe Archie Miller was sent from the heavens to destroy Indiana basketball and also my hopes and dreams.
I don't know if he's cursed or if someone
that's what it is. He might
broke
be cursed.
Something that had a curse on it.
We fired Tom Crean because we didn't like his face. That's it. We got Victor Oladipo. We got Cody Zeller, Yogi Ferrell, most three-pointers in the league, won the league,
So good.
1 seed, number 1 in the country. They just didn't like his face. That was straight up it. Archie, I don't like his face. I don't like his face at all.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
That guy gets it.
that's the best. That's the best voicemail we've ever had. They fired Archie Miller, or they fired Tom Crean because they just didn't like his face. Oh man, I can't. I don't know. I have defended Archie Miller for as long as I can. I'm running out of excuses. I don't know. Indiana's
You
got an
played for
interesting-
Archie Miller,
yeah.
so you have a conflict
Well,
of interest.
the other part that I have a conflict, like we saw Indiana and Nashville, and I was dumb enough to believe in them because like they were high fiving each other, and Race Thompson played well one game, and it's just wild to see. To go from that to what they became by the end of the year, it's a disaster. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what. I mean, I know Archie's got a big buyout. I know they're gonna have to figure that out. They have a new athletic director. Should say the guy who's athletic director now is not the guy who hired Archie. I don't know how much that matters.
A lot.
Probably
Always
little
a
bit.
lot.
Yeah.
Because every AD that comes in, you know this, they want to make, their hire, their guy, put in their system, their culture, whatever you want to say. And Archie, I mean, when we saw him, in Bloomington, 2018, now 3 years ago, Archie was working hard. There was no doubt that Archie knew, the task at hand was a lot. And he even said to us, like, I just need the facilities to get the Cody Zellers and the Victor Oladipo. You know what I mean? It's an arms race in college basketball. So he said that, and that gave me a little bit of a red flag that day because, that means that you're competing with everybody, right? If you say something like that, you're like Creighton and you were competing for the same kids. You need to have a place where the kids in Indiana look and say, I want to play for Brad Stevens.
It has to be Brad Stevens.
I want to play for Rick Carlisle.
I'm telling you.
I want to play for Mike Woodson, whoever that coach is.
Whoever made that Photoshop that put Brad Stevens' head on Bob Knight's body with the red sweater.
Yes.
I just stare at that and just say, like, that's what I mean. I've stared at it long enough that it's no longer like a Photoshop. It's like reality in my mind. I've drank the Kool-Aid so much that I can't even discern what is real and not real. I've tweeted about Brad Stevens at IU for going back to like Tom Crean's like third year at Indiana. I was like, hey, maybe they should hire Brad Stevens. That would be cool. And then it gained steam and to the point that obviously it's like a bit for everyone now that any coaching job comes up, people talk about Brad Stevens, but especially Indiana. And I don't know, man. The more I stop and think about it, the more I'm like, it has to happen. Just make it happen. That's what I would do. If I was the athletic director, I would just make it happen. But have you tried that?
Yeah, just call. Make the call. And I mean, but you have to explain this too, because if you are a kid that grew up in Indiana, right? And if you wanted to be a player, and then at some point, a lot of players decide I'm not going to be a star, so now I'm going to pivot and be a coach. Every single kid in Indiana would say, I want to be the coach of Indiana, right? So, like, that's what you're dealing with Brad Stevens. You're dealing with the nostalgia of a childhood dream and the idea that that guy has overstayed his welcome at this other basketball staple. And the trope in basketball, we talk about this. We say coaches don't want to coach 19-year-olds. But did they really want to coach a guy who's not going to get coached? Like, Kevin Durant.
Great point.
Like, he's like, I'm good. Like, I got to figure it out.
If Brad Stevens
Kyrie said they weren't even going to have a coach at one point.
If Brad Stevens doesn't want to coach 19-years, why is he coaching Jason Tatum?
Yeah, come on.
Wow. Who's been 19 for however many years now. So there you go.
Quote that. Send that out. Send that out.
Funny enough, Tate, we apparently got a ton of voicemails from IU fans that said they have ideas on who they should coach. I'm actually interested. In full disclosure, we don't listen to these voicemails before they're played on our show. We tell their producer, Louise, we're like, we don't want to hear it. We want to hear them live on the air. So when a guy says we fired Tom Crean because of his face, it makes us laugh. So she said apparently she put together all of the ideas that Indiana fans have for who should be hired, and I'm just fascinated here.
Yeah, I can't wait. I hope it's all Brad Stevens.
It's time. Make Indiana great again. Titus, something, anyone.
Oh,
Titus!
Obviously, I want Brad Stevens, but bring Rick Pitino. I don't even care about his character.
That's a good one.
I just want to win basketball games.
It's time for Titus to come home.
Let's go.
And coach the Hoosiers. Time to get your dream job. # bring Titus home.
It's time for Steve Alford to come home and make Indiana great again.
Steve, is this Steve?
I realize my brain is so broken by Archie Miller. I think Robbie Hummel should coach IU. I unironically think one of Purdue's best ever players and a Purdue legend should come and coach IU because I think he can do a much better job.
For the love of God, I don't even need Brad Stevens. I'd like Tom Coverdale.
Yeah, my attention.
Come home, Brad.
Yeah.
Come home.
Yeah.
There you go. Dude, Robbie Hummel does break my brain. The idea of because the thing about I was talking to my mom about this because we were talking about the IU Purdue game and Hummel was on the call and she's like, I love listening to her. She's a big Robbie Hummel.
Yeah. How could you not be? Robbie's
I said
the
one
best.
thing that stands out about Hummel is that he does like appreciate Indiana, but he appreciates the Hoosiers, and it's like kind of
Absolutely.
weird because it's like the guy should be. He has a reverence for Indiana.
You know this. At the end of the day, we talk about this. You know, you have your love for your school, but at the end of the day, there's like, for me, it's like Tobacco Road in North Carolina basketball. The overall, like, I can say crap about Wake Forest basketball and make fun of them, but if you do, I'm going to bring up Tim Duncan and go at your neck, and Chris Paul and everybody else. And it's the same with Robbie Hummel, and I find that great. I mean, look at Valpo. I mean, like Robbie Hummel, like, is a Valpo kid, really, and then he goes to Purdue, obviously, and becomes a Purdue guy. But he has a reverence for all. He
has a reverence for the whole state of Indiana. We're spending too much time talking about it, I suppose, but it is that was the thing that stood out to me. Was obviously it hits close to home because I grew up in Indiana or whatever. But just the idea that Archie Miller and it feels like here we go again with Indiana. Obviously, that's the national view on it. Is like, are they Nebraska basketball now? Or Nebraska football, I'm sorry. Is that what Indiana basketball has become?
Shit, here we go again.
And for me, I would argue here's an analogy that's very timely. I would argue because there's a lot of discussion. Is Indiana still blue blood? And most people would say no. I would argue they have ascended blue blood status because they're like the royal family, and this is obviously timely because the royal family popped up to our purview recently, where everyone pretends like you hate them, or everyone has an opinion, and I think that's all that matters, right? Like, isn't that ultimately what a blue blood is? Is that the fact that you care enough to say that Indiana's not a blue blood? They got you caring. It's like the royal family where you're like, I hate the royal family. I don't want to talk about the royal family. In fact, the guys I hate are William and Harry. And when they married Kate, and you're like, oh wow, you seem to know a lot about that. And you're like, damn it, yeah. That's kind of how Indiana is. So I think I don't think they're blue blood. I think they're royal blood. I think that's where we've arrived with Indiana.
I think that my term that I'm going to use for them, I like what you're saying. They're pure, right? Like, Indiana basketball is pure. Your favorite saying, 49 states is basketball in Indiana. It's just different here. I think we got, the blue bloods. We know who they are, or at least we assume we do. We got the new bloods. Every team in college basketball, Texas Tech is a new blood. You can go down the gamut. But I think Indiana is the true blood.
I like it.
I think that they are the one. They are red blooded. They are true to who they are. They are. We know exactly
what invented basketball.
Yeah,
it doesn't help us now.
Yes,
but
And the only other true blood in basketball, another red team, is NC State, and that's because Everett Case came from Indiana. And brought basketball down to Tobacco Road. And I think that the only two true bloods, Chuck Taylor gave his first clinic at NC State.
He's from Indiana as well, by the way. Chuck Taylor.
So there it is. The two true bloods, NC State, Indiana. Indiana, obviously,
like
the number
Springfield
one.
Community College in there.
Yes, the YMCA in Springfield, Mass.
Those are the three true bloods. Oh, damn it. Forget about Indiana. Brad, come home. That's the.
Can I have my one last? Archie Miller, his press conference after this game, he said it. You said we don't ask for anyone to be fired. We agree with this. But Archie Miller, he said what we needed to hear. He said, we got good guys.
Yep.
We got guys who battled. Like any program at this point, you have to take inventory.
That's all you can ask for.
Let's take inventory.
That's all you can ask for.
A lot of good guys. We know what that means.
If it's not Brad Stevens, I don't really know who. Beeline?
Beeline is a good one, yeah.
Beeline is being thrown out there. I don't know if that's the move, though. I mean, Beeline want to coach in the Big Ten again? I don't know.
I threw out Rick Carlisle to you because I like the idea of Rick Carlisle. To me, is a should have been an ACC basketball coach. Played at Virginia, loves coaching the game. And Mark Cuban, has this Indiana connection. And I like the idea of Rick Carlisle coming to Cuban and saying, look, I love Luka, but this is just not, like, this game has passed me by. This NBA game is not my game. Can I go back to my roots? And then he funnels Rick Carlisle to Indiana. I like that. Give me that.
What's Phil Jackson up to? Get him to Bloomington.
Dude, Phil Jackson is in Wyoming chilling.
What else happened today? The Duke Blue Devils tested. They had a positive COVID test right before they were supposed to play Florida State. Shout out to Florida State, by the way. This is the fourth ACC tournament game that Florida State has won in a row without even playing.
And they won the tournament.
People forget last year. Yes. Yeah, they won three technically, but not actually. But also, who cares?
Yes.
They didn't even play a game. They were supposed to play 3 to win the ACC tournament. They got handed a trophy before the game tipped off.
Yes.
And then this year, this was going to be Florida State's first game, and Duke had a positive test, which Jeff Goodman very bravely stepped out and let us know that it was a walk-on. So please do not be mad.
Do not blame Mark Williams or any of the talented players.
Please direct your letters to this man at this address.
Yes.
And please, so that sucks. I mean, we obviously make a ton of fun about Duke on the show, and who doesn't? And it's fun, and it's a very easy punching bag. But I really do feel bad for the players and even Coach K. I feel bad for everybody involved in the program. This is the worst case scenario when trying to suss out like how this is all going to play out this season. This was the doomsday scenario. It was like, what happens if a team at the worst time of the year test positive? Then what do? I guess we find out that you shut your program down, you lose, and you win nothing, and the season's over, and that blows. And I guess the question as you look forward becomes, is this really going to happen with teams that are going to make the tournament? Because Duke, I think the conversation gets interesting if Duke beats Florida State today. I think they might sort of maybe be back in. At least they're ahead of Syracuse. I know that much. Where that puts them, I don't know. But they'd be so maybe they're back in, maybe they're not, whatever. But as it stands, they weren't probably going to make it anyway. But now my mind, as most people's minds, goes to like, what happens if this is Gonzaga? Are we really going? Is Gonzaga undefeated? We're really like before their second round game, we're gonna say, sorry Gonzaga, that's how it works. Is that really gonna happen? Because that's mad. That's madness.
Yeah, we joked about this being the maddest tournament of all, and that is probably would be the most insane version of this. I mean, the worst part about this, to be honest, of course I'm a Carolina fan. Of course I wake up to this news. Of course I laugh and cackle to myself. Once I figure out everything is safe and fine. But then you look at the facts, and Seth Davis tweeted this, which is hilarious. Just thinking about the idea of Seth Davis getting the PR report from the Duke Mafia and then putting it out to the world. But they were staying in Durham. They were
very careful. Quote,
they were
unquote, whatever.
They were bussing. I mean, Duke was doing
this is their first positive test all year.
Yes,
wasn't
yes.
Yeah.
They've been very strict. They've been very rigid. Man. And the worst part about it, if you're Duke, right? I mean, you're playing some of the best basketball you played all year, and it's a walk-on that is involved with this whole thing. They've come out and said that the walk-on was not close enough in proximity to anyone in the Carolina game for that to be something that we go back and contract trace.
Yeah, or the Louisville game.
Yeah. Contract trace,
but
the whole thing. Yeah, it's but anyways, Duke has done everything right by what is the check the box. So. In that is what's scary, right? That's what you're saying. It's like there's nothing that Duke did where it's like, oh, they deserve it, or that sucks for them, or you know what I mean? It's like, no, this was a situation where they were trying to do everything proper.
It's not the deal where Travis Steele and Xavier beat Cincinnati, and then Travis Steele went out to a packed bar
to go buy some drinks. You know what I mean? That's a little bit different. That's a little bit different.
3 days later, they tested positive, and you're like,
I can see it. I can see
it. I don't know. It was not one of those deals, so. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I don't know how else to put it. It sucks, but now you start thinking about. I don't know. Maybe we should talk to Andy about this, because I really am fascinated. I don't buy it for a second. I don't, especially like you're telling me before the national championship. It's Sunday night. The national championship is going to be played Monday, April 5th. It's Easter Sunday, and someone tests positive on say it's Gonzaga versus Illinois is going to be the title game, and someone on Gonzaga tests positive. You're telling me that it's canceled? The national title's canceled? We just hand the trophy to Illinois? I'm calling bullshit on that. That's not going to happen.
I will say this.
But where do you draw the line becomes the question.
Yeah. Where is the line in the sand? And also, I will say this. I am actually impressed that Duke reported this. You know what I mean? Like, this is not to say this is a walk-on. This is like a one. Like, I could see an old version of Coach K trying to argue this out. You know what I mean? Like trying to be like, we may not play today, but let's pause for the day.
They were very quick to be like, season's over.
Yeah, they were done.
Statement that was the end. We're not going to try to do another test.
I will give credit there because there is like a bit of a competition angle to this, and obviously there is a safety health protocol that is obviously primary. But the competition aspect, I mean, we're dealing with a sport where guys were fixing games in 1957, or 1961 that came up again. So last week, I mean,
Indiana's been fixing games for now.
I mean, it looks like it based on if you watch the shot chart, you're like, it has to be this. So I mean,
Trey Trace Jackson Davis at the free throw line.
It's not the time to make fun of Duke, but it's also the time to point out that this is historical. And I mean, it's a stupid season. It's
the dumbest season we've ever had, and what makes it so dumb, especially, is that we've kind of gotten used to it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If I told you a game got canceled tomorrow, you'd be like, okay, yeah. So anyway, and you just kind of go on about your day. Whereas a year ago, it was like, this is insane. They're canceling. I told you, I was reading some New York Times article that said, God, that sounded so stupid how I said it. But I remember reading the article that they cited that like over 1,500 games have been canceled. Or postponed.
Yeah.
1,500, dude. And you just kind of get to a point where like, yeah, that's how it works. And that's the dumbest part of all, is that it's like no longer dumb to us.
That's how it works, yes.
It's no longer dumb to us. We're just like, that's there you go. It's canceled.
But Duke not being in, the tournament, not being a part of Selection Sunday, now we have the question, will Coach K be on the set? So that is your next.
Ooh, that's a great
Watch
question.
out for Coach K.
I don't think so. I think Coach K goes and regroups. I think he goes into hiding and he's reassessing. He's truly reassessing what's going on, and he's going to come back next year.
I feel like we get like an overtime video where like Zion goes back to Duke for the day and like visits Coach K, and that we get some PR stuff like that. That feels like the play.
Has he got the vaccine yet?
Yes.
Coach K has?
Yes.
Did he put out the video? Because that would be a good time for that. But I guess it's probably already passed. I'm trying to think of like ways he can kind of. Yeah, I don't know.
He's going to get back into the fold.
He's going to find a way. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, even if it's like Colorado Springs, right? USA basketball practices. Coach K might be there, with Popovich, with his USA shirt on. They're like, this is the guy that rebuilt USA basketball, that kind of stuff.
All right, let's talk to Andy Katz about some of these things because I really am fascinated. Andy is in Indianapolis. He's been covering the Big Ten tournament, so he was in the building when Archie Miller, when all the Indiana
He's scouting for us. We're like, Andy, what do we do now?
Chanting fire Archie. He's also very well sourced. So I'm curious. I'm going to ask him about. We're going to ask him. Let's talk to him about Duke and what would happen if all that.
He knows.
Here you go. All right, joining us for I guess this is the last time, Tate. Certainly not the last time of the season, but this is the last time for the regular scheduled Friday show. Is Andy Katz live in Indianapolis? What time is it even there? It's past midnight. The hardest working man in college basketball media. I guess let's start with you being in Indianapolis, Andy. We just spent a lot of time talking about the scene at the end of the Indiana game when Archie Miller's team cannot throw the ball in the ocean to end the game. And this is the first time, at least to my knowledge, that there were that many fans, and it's in Indianapolis, and you can very clearly on television hear them chanting "Fire Archie." As someone who was in the building, what was that scene like? What? Just speak to that. Like, what was it as weird as what it felt like on TV?
Yes. What was surreal was this was the first game that I've been to with fans. I went to a couple of games in the Northeast, Providence, UConn, went to a Wisconsin game, was at the Mohegan Bubble. So this was the first day where there were fans that I've experienced this season. I know there's been fans at other venues earlier, in other parts of the country. So here we are inside the Lucas Oil Stadium. I finally see fans, and they're booing. And they're saying, "Fire Archie!" It got loud.
Yeah.
So it was really surreal. It actually, kind of in a weird way, kind of felt semi-normal that you had some jeering going on. First of all, I don't know how he didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Because it's still kind of echoey because it's not a packed house, obviously. But they were awful offensively down the stretch. I mean, just brutal. It's not a good situation. I don't know what else to say. It's just not a good situation. I don't understand it. I've been one of these people early on that thought Indiana would be much better. I like their talent. I think Trace Jackson Davis is one of the better players at his position in the country. There are times when, I know they haven't been healthy, but there are times when healthy that Finney, Franklin, Hunter, Durham, they're all more than capable. Race Thompson's an ultimate glue guy. And I know they didn't have Joey Brunk, so they weren't always, and he was another, factor inside. But still, I like their team, and it has just not worked.
I liked them too. We saw them in Asheville early, and I was like, I think this could work. Like, theoretically, they're gonna have to. The shooting was always going to be a question mark, but yeah, it was certainly a disappointing season. It's so funny that you speaking of the fans, just that I was just thinking this. We spent the last calendar year just kind of thinking in our heads, man, it's going to be so great to go back to a sporting event. Like, how fun is that going to be? And you just picture like this utopia where all the fans are just kind of like putting arms around each other. It's like, we don't even care what's happening on the court. It's just great to be back. And instead, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, like, get this guy out of here. Fire him. Andy, I wanted to ask you just about being in Lucas Oil Stadium, because that's where we're going to have the national championship game, obviously. You know, Titus and I were talking about atmosphere, you know, in an actual tournament game. You know, if you're a top-seeded team, you get down by, 8, 10 points, you get a little bit tight, the crowd starts turning against you. Did you feel an atmosphere at all with, the amount of people in there? And obviously you said you could hear the Fire Archie chants, but is there a chance we can build an atmosphere with this limited amount of fans?
Yeah, because first of all, from what I understand, there's probably going to be around 12,000 fans for the Final Four, in that 12 to 15 range, because they're going to have the whole arena. It's 2 courts now. Big Ten's only one side. So basically they cut it in half, and they told the Big Ten that they could have, I think, around 6,000 because they're only using half the stadium.
Wow.
Now you take down that curtain once you get to the Final Four. As I said, there will be 2 sides early in the tournament, but once you get to the Final Four, they'll have 12,000. So I think there will be some sort of an atmosphere. I mean, I wasn't at a Colts game, but it's very comparable to that. I will say this, and Mark and I are both Big Ten guys. I want to give a shout out to the Big Ten because I think they have and are doing a great job. Now, I have to admit, obviously, I'm in a better position doing stuff for BTN and being down low, but I think it's been seamless. We've had great access. The fact that I've been able to do interviews in person, both pregame and halftime and postgame, I mean, I feel that feels normal to me, even though I'm a little distant. And I think they've done a really wonderful job of keeping a safe environment. We've been testing, and I don't know. I just really was impressed with the way the Big Ten has put this event on. Obviously, it's a trial run for the NCAA tournament, but it just kind of feels like the postseason.
No, it's good.
And for those of you listening and not watching on YouTube, Andy is not wearing his 30 Big Ten logos that he sometimes does when he comes on the show. As he was saying all that, so this feels a little
that was
genuine.
real. Yeah,
it doesn't feel like
he's
got the Big Ten gun to his head to say all that. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, because I think that's where all of our mindset is even as the conference tournaments are going on. And it was fun watching this all today, but we're all kind of focused on the big dance, obviously. We just got done talking about the Duke situation, and Duke has a positive test within the program. They cannot continue in the ACC tournament, and I don't know how worthwhile it is to discuss Duke in that regard. We were more interested, Andy, in the application moving forward, because this seems insane, this idea that if this truly would happen to, I mean, Gonzaga is where your mind goes. They're undefeated. They're number 1 in the country. Gonzaga is about to start this run to maybe be the first undefeated team we've seen since 1976, and they have 1 positive test. They're out of the tournament. That is what the rule says right now, and we don't buy that, do we, Andy? We don't buy that. That can't be true. That can't be how it works.
It is not.
Okay.
And I will say this. I'm not as well-versed in the ACC protocols, so please don't quiz me on that as to why the decision was made to pull Duke's entire team out of this event on Thursday night with 1 positive. I do know for the NCAA tournament that even before you get to Indy, you're supposed to have 7 days of negative tests. Mm-hmm. What that means is that's been going on this entire time, back to last weekend, including teams in the America East, so all across the country. And then what we've seen is teams that are already clinching, Cleveland State, for example, they won their tournament in the Horizon League here in Indianapolis. They haven't left. So they immediately went into the protocols, into the hotel. The Big Ten teams, like Michigan State, which lost on Thursday, they're not leaving. And I'm not saying you won't get a positive test, but the way they're running it in the NCAA tournament hotels, and there are 4 of them that are all connected to the convention center with the little skyway, each player has their own room. Each team has its own floor. The elevators are being controlled. I mean, I'm telling you, they have thought of everything. And once again, I'm not saying they won't have a positive test, but it'll be more surprising if there is one once you are here in Indianapolis based on everything that they're doing, the separation of each player, where they're sleeping, where they're eating, so that if there is a positive, that they can basically say, look, that player was not with this other player
All right.
for consecutive 15 minutes.
That makes me feel better because I wasn't buying that for a second. That if it's easy to say if it's a 15 seed and they test positive, get them out of here and we'll figure it. But there's got to be because then we have a real mess on our hands. If a Gonzaga, a Baylor, a Illinois can't, then it's like, well, what's the point of the tournament at all?
One of the stories we heard early on was that, I think Calipari even mentioned this, that, he was going to bus up to Indianapolis. So there were some other teams like trying to figure out travel because of COVID things. Are we going to get like full on coverage of these teams as they come into Indianapolis and we discuss how they got there? Like, is this going to be a whole thing as we get closer to the tournament?
I doubt it. I'm just telling you, the coverage has been very, I wouldn't say cloak and dagger, but I mean, it's just sort of teams are sliding in here. If you can bus, they wanted you to bus. And if you could fly, obviously they flew you in, charter. I mean, I can't even imagine the expense of testing and all the travel, the protocols, everything. Even on the bus, they had it, there was diagrams of, sort of every other, zigzag, same with the planes, how everyone was traveling. So they've kind of thought of everything and to the point of where I was told that I think they rented I can't even give you the number of how many washing machines and dryers that from like Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, because think about 68 teams doing laundry, over the course of this next week. Now, once we get to a week from Tuesday, so the 22nd, we're going to be down to 16.
Yeah.
Much more manageable.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's going to happen is, now this will be it. If I were an Indianapolis TV station, okay, the way we would see in LA, where you guys are, where the chopper, will follow the car chases. I want to see a chopper in Indiana. So I'm saying this to the Indiana sports TV, local news, get your choppers up there, because in that following week, we're going to see controlled outside time. Could be at the Indy 500, could be at the Victory Field right behind me, the AAA stadium, could be on top of parking decks. I think there's going to be literally time where they're going to have, Team X, go spend an hour outside.
Recess.
It's recess.
They're having recess.
Right. I think it'd be actually kind of cool, whether it's a drone or a chopper, to see, like Gonzaga playing, why am I drawing a blank on that game at the beach?
Spike
you know
ball.
what I'm talking about.
Spike ball.
Spike ball.
Yeah, spike ball.
It might be spike ball. Or Few, by the way, is a huge pickleball player.
Yeah,
There you go.
And he told me he's bringing pickleball. So maybe we'll see like a makeshift pickleball court on top of a parking garage.
We'll get Dave Calabro, Channel 13, Operation Football. On
Pickleball
the case.
was big in the bubble, the NBA bubble.
Andy, we should probably ask you about basketball while we have you here, and not just medicine and laundry and pickleball. Give the people one thing as conference tournament, because the NCAA tournament is the only reason we're having a season. I think the NCAA has not made any secret about that. They're like, we don't care, figure it out. Like, we're just trying to get this NCAA tournament.
We'll see you in March.
So I think for our listeners, we're put in a tough position where we're trying to convince people that these conference tournaments matter and they're interesting, because we're at a point now where it's like just the big boys, and most of the teams left are probably going to make the tournament anyway. So as we sit here tonight, tell us one thing you're looking for between now and Selection Sunday that makes these conference tournaments interesting as they're unfolding in front of us. They could be any conference.
Well, I will just tell you, I mean, obviously I love the drama of a bid stealer, and what's happening in New York to me is fascinating, that Patrick Ewing and the Hoyas sort of left for dead and irrelevant and all that. And look at them now. I thought, no question, the quote of the week, if not the season.
So good.
And I don't want to misquote it, but I will just paraphrase, the fact that Patrick Ewing was basically checked for his credential. And I mean, I wouldn't say, he used the word accosted. I think he meant challenged, if you will, for his credentials throughout the garden, when all he had to do was point to the rafters and say, my name?
Yeah, that guy.
And the fact that Ewing and Georgetown are in the semis against Seton Hall.
Yeah.
And I actually saw that side of the bracket. Now, I was wrong on Marquette. But I thought whoever won that game did have a legitimate shot to beat Villanova.
Andy, we thought the same thing, Andy. Yeah. I just believed in Marquette.
So now, Georgetown doesn't have to play St. John's.
Mm-hmm.
They play Seton Hall, winnable game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, look, it'd be a reach for them to – I think they can beat Creighton. They've already beaten Creighton. UConn is on fire right now. But if we have a Georgetown-UConn final on Saturday night at Georgetown with a chance to steal a bid, and how about this one? What if Georgetown was the team that eliminated Syracuse?
Ooh.
Oh,
God.
the bubble.
That is old Big East.
Wow. Georgetown knocks a bubble.
I like it, Andy.
Yeah.
That's good.
They steal a bid. Syracuse slides. And then I would
Jim
love
Boeheim goes crazy.
I would love for the NCAA to come out and say straight up, like, Syracuse was the team. Like, there's no bones about it. If Georgetown would have lost, first team out was Syracuse. Watch Boeheim lose. Andy, what are you up to this March? Like, this is we were told that we might not have you back on. We're gonna try to figure it out. Like, I don't know. We're all busy this time of year, but what Tate and I know what we're doing. What are you doing? Where can people find you?
Okay, first of all, if I can fit it into my busy schedule, then I will definitely be back on as much as you'll have me. So I'm here till Sunday.
Nice.
And then on Sunday, I go to Atlanta, and I will be at the Turner Studios doing some digital. And then starting on the 18th, I will be on the Turner set.
Oh, let's go.
What?
Yes.
Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Candace Parker.
Let's go. Yes. Andy,
you have really moved up in the world for this show.
Don't forget about us. Like, we gotta give you something for everyone watching, like a shout out to the listeners, like that have been listening to you on their show all season.
Say
like,
Boise State, Andy.
Yeah, just say Boise State. Just anytime you say Boise State.
Wait. I'm not saying Boise State anymore after they lost to Nevada.
Anytime you mention Boise State, we'll know that you're giving a shout out to all the listeners of our show. Oh man, Andy, you're the best. Best
Thanks,
of luck,
Andy.
Man. Have fun in Atlanta. That's exciting.
Yeah, we'll be watching.
We'll be watching, obviously. So,
and then I'll be back in Indy, where hopefully I'll see you guys. Maybe if I can get over to the 3-on-3.
Yeah, we'll be there hosting that.
We're in tuxedos.
Fun times, Andy. We really do. In all seriousness, we don't get serious much on this program, but this has been a lot of fun. This was an arranged marriage of sorts in the beginning, and it has become the highlight of my week. Every week
it's been great, Andy.
So.
I will say this, guys, and this is one thing, and seriously, hopefully I can see you guys in person. I have been so thrilled. I'm very serious here, to actually see and talk to these coaches and these sports information directors who do incredible work for all of us in person.
Yep.
Yeah.
The fact that even if we're masked and we're a couple feet away, but just to see these people that I've not seen in a year, that I deal with all the time, that's been actually one of the best things about being here this week. I'll be honest with you. I just feel like, oh my God, I can see people again.
Yeah.
And that's been a thrill.
Archie Miller said the same. He was excited to see people, and then they said, fire Archie. He was like,
and then he said, shh.
Andy, you're the best, man. Take it easy.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, Tate, should we talk about the Big East a little bit? Because, Andy, I asked Andy, what is the one thing you're most excited about? Look at that. Bracket ready. It's up right here in front of us. What's the one thing you're excited to see? And, we said the last show we did, we were doing conference tournament previews. I made a point to in full transparency, we were being company men. The whole Big East tournament is happening on Fox Sports 1 or Fox. But I also said, in all honesty, they're not telling me to say this. I genuinely believe the Big East tournament's going to be the best tournament because it's just interesting. First of all, there's UConn back. There's Seton Hall, St. John's on the bubble. A lot of Villanova has question marks. We hashed all that out. We thought the Big East would be entertaining. We asked Andy, what's one thing you're looking forward to? Sure enough, he brings up the Big East. Because the Big East, it's wild. Georgetown beats Villanova. We get the Patrick. Do we have the Patrick Ewing clip, by the way, for the
Yes,
Can we play that?
Yes, we need this.
I thought this was my building, and I feel terrible that I'm getting stopped, accosted, asking for passes. Everybody in this building should know who the hell I am. And I'm getting stopped. I can't move around this building. Like I was like, what the hell? Is this Madison Square Garden? I'm going to have to call Mr. Dolan and say, geez, is my number in the rafters or what?
Dude, so good. So good. This has this supplanted – have you ever shot that shot?
Yes. And it's
that
so
one-legged step back?
It's so much better, too, because, like, that moment, have you ever shot that shot is a moment of confusion, a moment of, like, I don't get this. I'm
a moment of, what did I sign up for, like, coaching?
Yes. Hello, darkness,
yeah.
my old friend. Like, that is what it is. And we've been waiting for Patrick Ewing, Coach Ewing, to have the moment where he asserts himself and says, yeah, I am Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
I am number 33. I am your favorite player. I'm the reason that you like the New York Knicks.
I have been dunked on in this building so many times, and damn it, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
You're not going to dunk on me one more time.
Yeah, and
It's
stop,
over.
and just because you only watched a 30 for 30 where they focused on me missing that one layup doesn't mean that I didn't
But I wasn't the
dominate
greatest.
and win a
Yeah.
national championship
Yeah.
and go to back-to-back national championships
Yes.
and should have won back-to-back national championships.
Yes.
So it was good to see Patrick Ewing own that and say, geez, are you
Because
kidding me?
he does have a perception as a nice guy.
He's a
so to
very-
speak,
he's a
just
very
because
good
of
guy.
Jordan,
Yes.
his relationship
Yes.
with Jordan. I mean, for
Yes.
God's sakes, he's got a Jordan logo on him. That's like the ultimate like good
Yeah.
guy move. Is the guy who owns you in the NBA, or at least the perception is that Michael Jordan owns you, and then you go get a coaching job, and now you have to wear Michael Jordan on your.
Michael
it
Jordan
sucks.
beats him in 82.
Yeah,
you know,
the
we know
whole
story,
thing,
yeah.
and that's how people view Patrick Ewing, and it's
it's wrong.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's wrong.
And geez, the number is
wrong.
hanging up there.
It's wrong.
You see it at MSG every single time. And I will say this, like Patrick Ewing, Georgetown, we talked about programs like Indiana, right?
Yep.
You're like, we're worried about, what does the future look like for that program? We want them to get it back. Patrick Ewing, when he got hired, it felt great, right? It felt right. But we've also seen, a Clyde
I thought he was-
Drexler at Houston.
Yeah.
We've seen Chris Mullen at St. John's, where on paper this looks great, but it doesn't
Ready
work
to throw
out.
Penny in that mix?
And
Are we
Penny is getting
to
close,
throw
getting close.
Penny in there?
But it seems too good to be true, right? That's usually how it goes. And Ewing hit this weird pivot point where you thought it was going to go bad.
Dude, I thought he was gonna get fired a year ago.
Exactly.
I was like, I don't.
So to have this resurrection and for it to be in Madison Square Garden and for him to have this moment we're all going to remember where you were when he said, geez, like, is my number 9 the Raptors?
It's awesome.
It's great.
Also, Georgetown was 23 for 23 from the free throw line
Jump
in
man.
this game.
That was for Jordan.
A Big East tournament record. And they did it against Villanova, Tate. And you might remember 1985, Patrick Ewing, that was his senior year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, his senior year. The
Came
last
back
game-
for his senior year
The
to
last
win
game
a national championship.
he ever played, 1985, the Villanova Wildcats beat, in the biggest upset in NCAA title game history,
Yes.
the Villanova Wildcats beat Georgetown because they shoot out their ass. They don't miss. They can't miss.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's one of the most unlikely things we've ever seen, and we didn't even see it.
Yeah. 83 and 85 are the two games where it's like if you watch the 1983 title game, Sidney Lowe, the three-point line, of course, does not exist. Sidney Lowe shooting from 30 feet, and it's going in.
Yeah.
And Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler are like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
The same thing with Villanova in '85 was like they could not miss, and this is a little revenge, shall we
Yes.
say?
Yes.
That now Georgetown can't miss from the free throw line. They end up winning by one. Like, it's a game that every other statistic Villanova should have won the game. If you look at a box score and you covered up the free throw line, you're like, how did Georgetown do this? And you're like, oh, because Georgetown literally didn't miss from the free throw line. Then they won on free throws. They won on 2 free throws.
And
With 4
Villanova,
seconds
they've won 3 straight Big East tournament championships. They own the new Big East. This is their conference. So for Pat Ewing to assert himself and this team to assert themselves and say, we knocked off the top dog, that's good.
Do we have a book night update? I mean, my God, what was going on with? I hope it's a Jalen Suggs situation where he's just like
he got carried. Basically, we kept seeing
They said
shots.
it was cramps, right?
Yeah, they said it was cramps, but we kept seeing shots where he's getting carried and was obviously writhing in pain at certain times. I mean, UConn fans were tweeting at me that it's okay. So it seems like I was telling you the best part of this whole thing, if we want to do the dramatics of it, if he really is our Kimba candidate, is that UConn goes on this run where when he's playing, like they get like a 10, 12-point lead, and you're like, man, UConn is, that team's gonna win it all, like a 2004 Mecca Okafor UConn team or Kimba team, whatever. But then he has these cramps or has to come out of the game. Other team comes back, creeps up, gets the lead. And then we wait, and it's like Mariano Rivera moments where it's like, then he comes running out to save the day. I think that makes him even more of a hero if we know it's like UConn with Book Night, UConn without Book Night, and in the tournament it's in and out, when he's going to be there, when he's not going to be there. That could be good drama, but I want him to be healthy. That's all I really want.
I mean, he had the elbow. There's his elbow wrapped up. He had an elbow injury for like. How many games he missed? 8 games was it? I think
it was. Yeah, 6 weeks. I feel like it's the term.
I mean, we're buying all the UConn stock, which UConn fans aren't exactly happy with. But
no, of course,
you know
of course.
Who cares?
No one likes when you make the pick for them.
Yeah,
they like to complain when you don't make the pick for them. That is the game. We know this.
That's the game we're in.
I feel the same way. You think I picked North Carolina to win the ACC tournament? No, but I felt good about it. I picked Georgia Tech.
So we got Creighton looked good today, by the way.
Yes,
Creighton looked really good. UConn looked good. Obviously Georgetown, Seton Hall, big win over St. John's. We thought that was going to be the game of the Big East tournament. It kind of was. It was the overtime. St. John's let that one slip away.
St. John's had to win that game, obviously, to have a chance at the NCAA tournament. So I hate to see
No,
that.
man, it's interesting. Any one of these teams winning, like because we were talking about in the conference tournament previous. What do these teams have to play for? Not the teams in the Big East, but the teams at large in the country. Why should Michigan or Illinois care that much about winning the Big Ten tournament? Why should Florida State, like, it'd be cool to have a trophy and actually earn it this time, but like, you know, you're already in, your seed's probably already kind of set. What are we even really playing for?
Yep.
And to that, I would say all 4 of these teams really need this.
Mm-hmm.
They need this. Like, Creighton needs to get their mojo back. UConn, everyone's believing in them. It's their first year back in the Big East. If they can get this done and win the Big East tournament, a thing that they've won more than any other team in the Big East. They haven't even been in the conference in 7 years. Seton Hall obviously on the bubble, and Georgetown's not even in, so both of them kind of need to win just to get in. It's awesome. It makes it awesome. So,
you know, the best case scenario.
Credit to us. We were wrong on every single pick in the game, but we were right on the fact that the Big East would be awesome. So.
Well, I was going to give you credit because, like, we do have a shot here for, you know, the Dan Hurley game. There's a chance that we get the Dan Hurley special.
Seton Hall, UConn. Let's go. Seton Hall, UConn. What else from around the country happened today that we want to hit on? Before,
I mean, I think it's easy. Tony Guy, I want to give the update. Just Virginia plays Syracuse in this game. You know, we're tied at 69, and then Reese Beekman hits the buzzer beater. Great play, great sequence of events. Jim Boeheim loses his mind about the defense, you know, and the switching and this whole moment. He was like, I guess he saw this whole play happening. Buddy did not deliver it to his players.
I love that Boeheim has gotten to the point of his coaching career that he just makes gestures.
Yeah. It's
just like,
yeah. You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. Figure it out. But Syracuse, right? They're like on the bubble, you know, maybe in, you know, depending on your perspective. Yeah. What year is it? And
Syracuse on the bubble, really? Wow.
I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I just wanted to say that because they do lose on a buzzer beater, but it felt like after the buzzer beater, everyone's reaction to that was like they're done. You know, they're toast, and it's like they were this close to going to overtime, and who knows what happens in overtime. Could have won this game, you know.
Dickie V, is that you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, don't write him off. Don't write him off. I want to write him off, but don't write him off.
I'm gonna write him off.
All right, you can go.
I don't know. Syracuse, like at a certain point, you should be punished just for being on the bubble every year.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you just like I think if Syracuse. I don't know. It's annoying. It's just annoying. It's annoying. Even the last Final Four they went to, they were on the bubble. They just live on the bubble, and they've turned that into the brand. And then like it's almost like a backdoor way of dominating the conversation, where instead of like trying to be the greatest and have everyone talk about you that way, it's like Jim Boeheim has cracked the code that if we're on the bubble every year, then everyone will talk about us every March. And we become a focal point, and I see through it, and I've just had enough. So I'm saying, Syracuse, you have to be punished at some point.
Yes, and there's no Tyler Lydon, there's no Malachi Richardson on this team, so you know there's not like the guy that's going to take the lead, O'Shea Brissett, whoever it may be. So,
I wanted to what did I write down here? Oh, it says
shout out to Virginia hitting that shot. I got lost in the debate.
I know. It was cool. It was a cool buzzer beater. It was like actually
Tony Bennett with the nice shrug, you know, like it's nothing.
It was actually in the flow of the game too, which is rare.
Yes.
You don't really think about it, but most buzzer beaters you see are like full court passes.
Forced.
Yeah, it was just kind of like they're just playing basketball and the shot goes up and it's like, oh, the horn went off. I guess we win now.
Yeah.
And everyone ran. And,
it was honestly like a play you run in practice and you're like, it's never going to be that clean to the game. You know, it's like it's never going to work that clean.
Wide open. And Boeheim said, stop. What did I write down here? It says, Marcus Carr, you lose. That's what it says in all caps right here on my notes. I wanted to just briefly talk about this, that Ohio State, at long last, We've exercised the Marcus Carr demons. This man has to go to the NBA. We have to get him out of here, Tate. I think this is it. I think that's what Chris Holtmann. There's a shot of Chris Holtmann at the end of the game after it's over. Marcus Carr's like doing the Jimmy Butler meme where he's exhausted and he's like leaning over
out,
and Chris Holtmann walks up and
table.
Pats him on the back and is talking to him. And I think the idea is that he's like saying, "Great game, man. You left it all out there." But I know what he was saying, and it was like, "You better take your ass out of the Big Ten."
Yes.
Leave us alone.
Yes.
Ohio State almost choked it away. The Big Ten is getting interesting. The Big Ten tournament, I would say. I mean, Michigan State laid a flat egg today. They're in, right? Are they in?
I think they're in. I mean, America's acting like they're in. To me, it's more of a conversation point. But again, the Big Ten has dominated, the idea that they are the best conference by far.
Yeah.
So there is that
true.
where it's like, if you're looking
the
at Syracuse.
ACC sucks.
By
far.
The worst by far.
By far.
That's how it keeps going.
There's the Big Ten brackets. So we got Maryland, Michigan.
That's a
Ohio
tough
State,
game.
Purdue, dude. We can't lose to Purdue three times in one season. We can't.
If I'm Purdue, I'm down to lose that game.
Yeah,
save it for the tournament.
But if Purdue wins, I am a Purdue booster, so I can't.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't be mad about that. Rutgers, so it's chalk. It's literally chalk, right? It's chalk. Wisconsin. Can I just make this note on Brad Davison calling a timeout to win the game?
That was good.
Wisconsin, it sucks how boring they are. Like when you talk about the Big Ten, you don't even. Wisconsin was one of the big three at the start of the season, and obviously they haven't been having the season that we've expected them to have in terms of success. But they haven't even had the season in terms of content, in terms of interest. Like if it wasn't for Bo Borowski going to the monitor every time Brad Davison does anything, I wouldn't even. There's not a notable moment from this Wisconsin when they smoked Louisville, I guess. Like it's a bummer that when they lost to Marquette when Kane tipped it in at the buzzer or whatever. Like they're so boring, they're so uninteresting. They're uninspiring. I don't know what else to say. It's very frustrating because Wisconsin is a staple. Like I know they get tagged as like the boring team in the Big Ten, quote unquote, but there's almost something fun about how boring they are. Now it's just boring for boring's sake. It's just like too much boring.
Yeah, I mean,
there's layers to the boring.
There's a good kind of boring, which is like Nigel Hayes doing his attempted Jordan spin move and then beating Villanova. You know what I mean? That's like boring, but also fun, and it worked. And like the
swing offense is boring, but it's like I don't know. Does anyone else run the swing offense? So that's kind of interesting, at least.
Brad Davison calling a timeout midair, to win the game. I mean, to me, just knowing Brad, like that was interesting. Like this is one of the few moments. It's funny. Like it got me at least intrigued in Wisconsin. So that gives me a little bit of a sliver of hope. But then if I look across like just all of these teams that are still in the Big Ten tournament, I mean, you could talk me into any of them. You know what I mean? That's the thing with the Big Ten and why I understand why they are so deep as a conference. But Wisconsin's probably the one, and Rutgers, obviously, probably those two that are not really it. But like from there, I mean, I even like Maryland. Like I really do. Like
Maryland can just muck it up. That's what they did at Michigan State. They just
very similar to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech does that in the ACC. They're like, we're just going to make this an ugly game. We're going to be physical. We're going to make you beat us.
Yeah,
and that's a tough matchup. I mean, so as I look at the Big Ten, all that to say, I am impressed with how well they're playing, and it again points to my belief that this is the year of the Big Ten. So
I've been putting this off for too long. It's time to do a Pac-12 update because I have something I'm so excited to talk about, and we should have led the show with this, honestly. Like if we didn't get so many voicemails from Indiana, Archie Miller ruined it. I was hoping Indiana would win tonight so we could talk about this, but anyway, here we are. We're going to talk about it. The Pac-12 update is this date. It happened. Quaddy Green.
Yes.
30-point game.
Yes.
It happened.
Yes.
As a reminder, if you're new to the show, you're just tuning in for March, and you're like, what the hell are these guys talking about? Quaddy Green, when he was a freshman at Kentucky in 2018, he was it was his freshman year. It's 2018.
Yep.
The last regular season game of the year, they lose at Florida. Kentucky does. They're 21-10 or something like that. They lose at Florida. And John Calipari in the post-game press conference says Quaddy Green is playing really well. He's playing so well, in fact, that I see him having a 25 to 30-point game. He's going to have a scoring outburst. It's going to happen. I can just feel it. He's a guy that's you just see him in practice, the way he's commanding the practice, and you're like, wow, what a vote of confidence. So then the SEC tournament starts. The first team that Kentucky plays is Georgia. Quaddy Green scores 0 points. He goes on for the remainder of the season. They play 6 games. He scores 28 combined points. He doesn't even get 30 in the 6 combined points. Tate and I make note of this. We're like, this is the funniest thing ever that Cal said. He cursed him. He put a jinx on him. He was like, he's like, this guy's going to score 30, and he put a curse on him. And then the next year, Quaddy Green scores. I think he scored more than 15 points like one time the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get halfway there. He got halfway there one time. And then he transfers to Washington.
Yes.
And we didn't end it there. We were like, all right, he's in Washington now. Maybe Calumet, when he goes to Washington, he's going to get the
He said at some point. Yes.
At some point.
Yes.
And I'll be damned. It happened in the Pac-12 tournament on the Pac-12 network. Nobody was watching. But the people were tweeting it. Like they were following the box score.
Yes.
It took a 60-point, I believe, second half for Washington. Utah beat Washington ultimately.
That's the best part. It was in a loss as well.
It was in a loss. But I'll be damned. Quaddy Green, 31 points happened.
I mean, there was a point in time where, this was, like you said, the people were alerting us. I got a text from a friend of mine that said Quaddy Green, finally did it. And it led me to the internet, to the Googles. I'm doing my searches, and I'm trying to find when Cal said this, and it got so deep I couldn't find it. And I thought that you and I, because
there's a Mandela effect.
We talk around. Yeah, we talk around so many things. I'm like, did we convince ourselves that Cal had said this? And luckily, you had the receipts. You had the notes.
I think
for
so.
us.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the receipts I had, because I dug out, because you brought this up to me before the show. And I was like, no, it definitely
I had to
happened.
confirm it. I was like, did this even happen?
But my receipts are just self-referential. It's just notes I had from shows we did.
If you wrote it down, I believe it.
So I don't have like a source outside of my own notes.
I like to think this is how history used to work back in the day. They're like, did you see it? It's like, I got some notes over there. Just,
what do you
just
remember?
Take that.
Like, I remember he said.
I mean, just write that down. Yeah, just take that.
Yeah. So everyone, Kentucky lost today. They lose to Mississippi State. The run we were hoping for from Kentucky, from a content perspective, didn't happen. Dead on arrival. So now, you might ask yourself, does John Calipari know what he's doing? Is it over? Is it done? And the answer is no, because Quaddy Green scored 31 points, and John Calipari is clearly still a great talent.
He knew
it. So, yeah. Anything interesting in the SEC, by the way? They were chalk too.
Yeah.
I mean, Kentucky 8-9 game, but otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, as I look at the SEC, you said you want to find something out. I mean, I want to find out, one, how bad I think Missouri is now. So I want to figure that out. I mean, they barely beat Georgia, so I'm trying to look at that. Tennessee is sort of the same thing. It's like I want to see just where Tennessee is. Florida's an interesting team, but Tennessee, I always thought they had higher hopes than what they are right now. Alabama and Arkansas are the real teams, though, right?
Yeah,
Obviously,
those are the two.
To figure out who is the one, right?
So, anyway, shout out Quaddy Green, 30-point game. The other Pac-12 update is this, Tate. The Gonzaga Bulldogs are undefeated. They're 26-0, entering the NCAA tournament. If they do, in fact, go undefeated and win the national title, they will match the 1976 Indiana Hoosiers at 32-0. That's what it is. They were down 12 at halftime against BYU. Does the question becomes this: does that worry you that Gonzaga was down 12 at halftime? Is this a sign that maybe it's not going to be smooth sailing in the NCAA tournament, or are you encouraged by the fact that they still kept their 10-plus point margin of victory streak alive and ended up winning by 10?
Yes.
So if you didn't watch the game and you woke up the next morning, you're like, oh, it looks like Gonzaga took care of business. But everyone else watching was like, oh my God, they could actually maybe lose it.
It's much better to have the shit your pants moment in a game like that against BYU, against a team that you know that you can beat, that you're familiar with, that's a conference foe, that you understand the reason they're up 12 is because they know you, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's good for Gonzaga to be down 12 because it's good to say, hey, we're not invincible. We lost this half. Treat it like a real loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be in at halftime and say, we've lost, and now how do we deal with that, and how do we bounce back? And then second half, they look like the
I would love
Gonzaga
Mark
that
for
we
you to
know.
be like, we're not undefeated. We lost the first half.
I mean, that would probably be
How
something
undefeated
you
are
would
they?
say.
You're the undefeated expert. Are
Not
they
as
still
undefeated as I would like. You know what I mean? But I think what you said, 32-0, and the idea of that happening in the 21st century, it's got to happen at some point. We've talked about it too long.
Yeah.
And this Gonzaga team, they check every box. And
Yeah,
it's why I wish it was a real tournament.
I know.
But if it does happen in Indianapolis, in the home, of the Hoosier State, and they do it there, I think it makes it even more special.
And all the Indiana fans show up at Gonzaga's national title game
Yeah.
and chant fire Archie.
No, they say hire few.
Hire few.
Hire few.
Gonzaga being down 12.
Man,
and the way
Mark
they come
Few at
back,
Indiana would be unbelievable.
I'm drinking the Gonzaga Kool-Aid. I have been all year, but it's because of what we've been saying all year is that Gonzaga is not like a normal college basketball team. I think that much is clear that they're undefeated, but it's how they're going about it. It's that they play. I've made this point a million times. They play like an NBA team. They get down 12. And most of the time in college basketball, you're semi-panicking. You're
Yes.
semi like,
Yes.
oh my God, we're broken. We got to
I
figure
mean,
this
look
out.
at Indiana. If you told that team to score 12 points and a half, I mean, that's hard.
Yes. The moment Indiana gets down 12, they're like, let's just pack it in. Let's go. Let's get on the bus. With Gonzaga, they're just like, it's like they don't even pay attention to the score. They have no idea. They look at the scoreboard when there's 4 minutes left, and suddenly they're up 7 or whatever it is. And it's remarkable. They're super talented. Believe what you want. This is my PSA to America. I don't care. I don't. If you want to pick Gonzaga to lose in the second round in your bracket, go for it. Be my guest. I would just caution that everyone that believes this is the exact same Gonzaga team, like anyone that's saying the phrase "we've seen this before," you're a moron. We have not seen this before.
Yep.
We have never seen this before. In fact, I would even argue that the Kentucky team in 2015. I'm not saying this Gonzaga team is better than that team. I'm saying this Gonzaga team has not had a close. They beat West Virginia by 5. That's the closest game they've had all year. That's the only game within 10 points they've had all year.
Yeah, and they had an injury in that game.
Kentucky in 2015 is a reminder. They almost lost at home to Ole Miss and went to overtime. That's not to say that again. I'm not comparing who's better or worse or whatever, but I'm saying the feeling of invincibility. This doesn't happen every year. The idea that Gonzaga beats up on teams in the West Coast Conference and every year they enter and with a 1 seed and they're the favorites, and it's nonsense. It's happened like twice that they've been favorites and they weren't even undefeated. They always lose a game at BYU or St. Mary's or something like that, and they didn't do that this year. They kicked everybody's ass. What else would you want?
Yeah, there's a chance where Gonzaga has a 2009 North Carolina effect where they just beat everybody.
Yeah,
and we all say, well, this was inevitable, right? Why do we not see this coming?
And anything can happen. We're not saying it's gonna happen. I'm just like I don't. It's
the wrinkle of it being in Indianapolis and it being a COVID tournament does throw a wrench into everything. So I think
college basketball, man. It's still guys that just have,
and confidence is a hell of a drug.
Confidence.
I mean UMBC, right? They go into that game against Virginia. Ryan Odom knew. I mean they felt like every coach. I feel like going into any game, you always feel like you have a real shot. Like, no matter what, I would think that you just inherently, no matter what, you're outmatched or whatever, but you're like, I still got a shot, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're like,
there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a
chance. We've seen crazier things.
Yeah,
That's what you tell yourself.
Yeah.
I've seen.
We make all these shots. 1985 Villanova,
right.
You brought it up.
Right.
We make shots tonight.
If they can do it, why not us?
Yeah. So, like, with Gonzaga, I will say this. The fact that they haven't lost and the fact that you have these teams that maybe view them as, like you're saying, that the Gonzaga of old, they're not as good as they may think they are. If a team does get up that, was from the Big 12 or Big 10 or even the Big East ACC, they may have that confidence that they're just like, I don't care about you. Like, you're nothing. Like, you can't play in our conference, And so that
and it works the flip side where like the UMBC Virginia example, that Virginia's confidence, like as that game was going on, their buttholes are tightening and they're just slowly like, we don't know how to throw passes anymore.
Yeah.
And they just slowly like lose all
Corey
their
Kispert dribbles it off his foot all of a sudden.
The moment becomes too big or something.
Yeah.
That could totally happen. I just, there's just a perception that this Gonzaga team is as good as the 2006 Gonzaga team with Adam Morrison. And as a guy who, Adam Morrison is my favorite college player of all time, this Gonzaga team would beat that team by 40.
Yes.
They would win by, it's unbelievable.
I think this Gonzaga team would beat the 2017 team that went to the title game by 10.
By 10,
They would just be, So, like, I hate to say that, but I really do. So.
Anyway, there's your Pac-12 update. Gonzaga is rolling. That's pretty much it. And Quaddy Green had a 30-point game. And also, is Pac-12 game going on right now?
Yeah, we got Colorado's up 24-20 at the
Stanford,
half.
Can we just in memoriam Stanford season? I mean, I know they had a lot of adversity, a lot of weird things going on, not being able to practice and play in their own. But getting your ass kicked by Cal unceremoniously on the Pac-12 network.
Yeah.
Here's my quotable from this show that put this out here.
From
this
Berkeley
is my thing.
too. Like,
if your season ends on the Pac-12 network, something has gone horribly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's my Pac-12 update. That's my advice to everybody. Think
about it. It goes for Lori Loughlin. You know what I mean? Like, she probably last time she was in the news with the Pac-12, like Pac-12 network.
If your season is ending on the Pac-12 network, for God's sake, you can't even make it to ESPN.
Yeah,
you're not even the part of the Pac-12 tournament that ESPN is carrying. Woof. UCLA. Woof.
Yeah. Not good.
Well, their season didn't end, I guess. But Arizona State losing to Oregon, like that. There's. That's all you need to say. Arizona State, you were picked to maybe win the Pac-12 this year, and instead your season ended on the Pac-12 network.
It kind of is a referendum on the one and done if you really think about it, because
Yeah.
Stanford plays the one and done game. They get Zaire Williams, who's probably comes out of Sierra Canyon, which if you don't know is Bronny James and Dwayne Wade's son's high school out here in L.A. So a lot of hype with Stanford, doesn't work out like you said. Arizona State, same thing. We got Bagley brother. We got Josh Christopher, who is supposed to play in the G League. None of that works out. That's done.
USC's
Kentucky
reeling a little bit with Mobley, a little bit. I still think they could win
Mobley's
a game
like
or
the
two,
most
but
legit one and
in the
done outside
NCAA
of
tournament.
Cade.
No, he's good.
Like.
I mean Mobley's not good. I just mean like USC has been weird down the stretch here because
Yeah.
they're limping into March a little bit.
I'm just saying this year in general, the one and done is taking a hit, and Mobley's probably and Cade Cunningham are the two bright spots, I guess, that cover those bases. But in general, I don't like what I'm seeing in the Pac-12.
Let's wrap this thing up. Shout outs, closeouts. What else did we not hit?
Well, I want to shout out to Oklahoma State. They beat West Virginia,
Yeah.
a buzzer beater shot there. And also, Cade Cunningham and this team, they have now beat 8 top 25 teams.
Is that true?
Yeah, 8 top 25 teams.
Dude, they're
10 Q1 quad 1 wins on the season. So if you're looking at, I said that he could be the ultimate Kimba candidate. Someone came back and said he could be the ultimate Carmelo candidate, and I like that idea.
That's
I like
a good
the
one.
idea of
what's the
Oklahoma
difference?
State going on.
Explain the difference. Explain to the people at home what the difference is.
The difference is basically a 5-star recruit who is a freshman that comes in and makes the impact that basically you're billed to be, and then you are a winning player when it comes to the tournament, and you're able to win games as the clutch go-to guy because you are that talented as the 5-star closer.
Okay.
And Kimba was not a 5-star recruit, freshman at the time, obviously, so a little bit different. And it's also a
little older.
A little bit older. Yeah. You're more of a guard, probably a smaller type. But
you're
whatever.
Also a little under the radar team.
Yes.
Yeah, because
yes.
so I guess we're gonna have to talk this through. Maybe we'll do this on the show. Like Ayo Dosunmu, is he a Kimba? Is he a Carmelo?
He's a Kimba.
But it feels like Illinois is too good.
But he's too
Without
deep. He's too veteran to be a Carmelo.
That's true. I don't know.
Because the beauty of Carmelo, right? I mean, we remember this. When Carmelo went and won that title, we all were waiting for the game where he was young, right? Where he did something young, and then like him and Hakeem Warwick like blew it, right? And like Kansas seemed the perfect team. It's Kirk Heinrich and Nick Collison, who are going to be the perfect foils to this young guy. But Carmelo, as we learn, is going to be one of the greatest American closers we've ever seen.
I like Cade as Carmelo.
Yeah,
I like
me
that.
too.
And likely is Jerry McNamara.
Dude,
there you go.
I mean, and they're wearing orange too, so I don't know
There
if
you
it's
go.
playing in my head a little
All
bit,
right.
but yeah, it's perfect.
I want to shout out the Xavier Musketeers who choked against Butler, and I didn't even watch the end of this game because Xavier was up. Man. I turned it off. I turned on a different game, and then my dad texted me and was like, Xavier, and my dad loves to just his move is he'll name a team and then he'll just put like an emoji that's like he'll put Indiana and then the barf emoji. Or
Yeah, that's good.
And he put Xavier and he put like the shocked eyes face, and I was like, I have no
We
idea
need
what's
that
going.
board. Coach Titus is like emoji
what-
board.
what is his
like
emoji?
like he has 20 teams and he just has like Belmont Heart.
So he sends me Xavier shocked eyes, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh my god, they blew that. They blew it in overtime. But their season might not be over because Xavier's on the bubble, the wrong side of the bubble, and they believe this is the word I'm hearing is that Xavier is trying to schedule one more game between now and Sunday, just as a last ditch effort, which is
Who plays in that game?
In these COVID times, I guess that's normal. In any other circumstance, you're like, this is absolute insanity. But that's what they're saying. That Xavier, but who are they going to find to play? They're just going to scrimmage themselves and put it on TV and say, we beat ourselves.
I'm trying to think of a team that Duke is the only team I can think of that
would
Duke
be funny.
opens the door and says, we'll play Xavier, and then whoever wins is in.
That would be funny.
I mean, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, St. John's.
If you're good enough to be in the tournament, you're not going to bother playing Xavier. And if
Yeah.
you're not good enough to be in the tournament, what good does Xavier get out of playing you and beating
Maybe
you?
Syracuse.
Yeah, just a bubble, just like a play-in to the play-in. Like
well,
you win that play-in game, and now you get to play in the play-in game. Yeah.
I mean, if you're Jim Boeheim, you're just
I don't
at this point, you're like, I'm trying to get Buddy Boeheim's stats up, career stats up. So another game, let's do it.
I also want to shout out the Michigan State Spartans presented by Rocket Mortgage. I don't know if you saw this. Bad guy of the year might be whoever the hell set this up. That Michigan State moving forward. Their
Dan
basketball
Gilbert.
team. Yeah, there you go. Dan Gilbert. Well, they will now be known as the Michigan State Spartans presented by Rocket Mortgage. So I guess it's working. I've said Rocket Mortgage 3 times now. So I guess.
I mean, what is the world that we're in?
ridiculous.
I mean,
so ridiculous. And then my final shout out is I had somebody reach out to me. I forget their name. They said I was wrong about something, or somebody was wrong. There was something that. Do we have that, Louise? Somebody.
Hi, my team does not suck. I am Kate's mom. We just beat Duke. We swept them. Thank you, Fox Sports, for putting the billboard up in Durham so that all the Dukies had to look at. We are the best fans in the whole country. UNC, Tar Heels, Go Heels. And Mark, just for clarity, Mr. Fraser and I met Scott Drew and his wife in Grand Cayman instead of Puerto Vallarta, just in case Mr. Scott Drew, who is a great guy, listened in. And let's go Heels!
Nice. I love my mom so much. I think if anyone ever wonders why I know anything, it's because of my mom. My mom is, you know this, my mom is the biggest North Carolina fan in the world and literally lives and dies by it. And whenever you say anything bad on North Carolina, she dies.
Breaks her heart.
She dies.
Your mom does not do well with shtick. Your mom does not do well where I'm like...
And then my dad's explaining to her, he's like, Billy, he knows. He knows. He knows Walker Kessler's a good player.
he's pulled your leg. And your mom's like,
oh, that was great. Good. Happy to hear she got the number. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, how do you feel about? Well, that'll be the party thought. How do you feel about the Heels? They look good tonight. Beat Virginia Tech. They smoked Notre Dame, man. How are you feeling in the quarterfinals now? It's coming together.
Yeah, I see.
The semifinals. You made the semifinals.
Yeah, I see a path. 1-1 against Florida State. You know, Florida State blew them out in the first half of that game, then kind of laid a flat egg in the second half, as we like to say. I like North Carolina. I told you this. When North Carolina plays the freshmen, they play, Day'Ron Sharp. When they play Walker Kessler, when they play Kerwin Walton, we're a national championship team.
Wow.
And those are just the facts, folks.
Wow.
And I hate to throw facts out at you, but, look at the numbers. When those guys play, Garrison Brooks did not play against Notre Dame. 100-plus points, first time since 1993. What happened that year, Mark Titus? National
Can I just say, everyone who heard Tate say that and rolled your eyes, I just want to say, don't roll your eyes, because what you should be saying is, this is awesome that Tate is confident in North Carolina right now.
No, I mean...
You're just setting it up. That's where we want. You want both of us to believe in our teams. I don't believe in Ohio State anymore.
Yes.
So I opted out of the season.
We still have a chance that you come back, though.
We have a chance. If we beat Purdue, you might talk me into opting back into the season. But that's where the fans want us. Is like both of us thinking, this is our year. We have a shot. We could go far.
Yes. No, I mean, this...
We get kicked in the nuts in the second round.
I tell you this. If Garrison Brooks has the Remember the Titans moment where he goes and gives his spot to PD, and he goes, and this is a reverse race situation, he goes to Walker Kessler and says... basically, like, you're better than me. Like, you could actually, rim protect. You could actually set the tone on defense. This is your team. They're winning the ship, Titus. I'm telling you, if that happens, they're winning the ship. That's all it takes. Be a good team player. That's the Carolina 100%. Way. That's the Carolina way. Give them your spots.
Oh, man. That's it. That's the show. Follow us on YouTube.
Oh, yes. Saturday.
We're doing Saturday. We're doing a live show on Saturday. We're doing a Selection Sunday special, spectacular thing, all on YouTube all day, behind-the-scenes stuff. They told us today that they're just going to let cameras roll as we're watching games. And I was like, so are we playing to the cameras? They're like, no, just act like the cameras aren't even there. And I was like, what?
Not going to be good for me after all those North Carolina comments.
We're going to do some fun stuff on the YouTube page. So if you're just home hanging out, watching basketball, and you just wonder what the hell we're up to, you can probably find it on our YouTube page.
Watch us live. We're going to be tweeting. We agreed to this, before this show. We said we're going to just fire tweets off. So if you, look, we know everybody's not on Twitter. It's probably better for you not to be on Twitter. But if you are, come with us. Come for the ride. At Titus and Tate. It's going to be a fun time.
There it is. We'll see you guys this weekend. Then the next time you hear our voices, well, that's not true. The next time you hear our voices on the podcast feed, we'll have a bracket.
It's madness.
The madness is here.
Yes.
Cannot wait.
Wow.
See you guys.
Hey there, thanks for watching Titus and Tate. For the full friend of the program experience, subscribe right below and come join us for all things college basketball. The action is heating up. Come join Titus and Tate.